We had 2 epic days at Epic Universe during the preview days. But what we didn't do in our vlogs is rank the rides from worst to best. So today, that's what we're going to do.
Great.
This is Steve. I'm Scott. This is based on 2 visits during the preview days. We will be back later in the year, but for now, all we have to go on is the preview days. So, Steve, what is the worst ride, in your opinion, at Epic Universe?
I think I don't know. I guess it's good for the age range, but we're a bit too old for it. But I'd say Yoshi's Adventure was probably the worst ride for me at Epic Universe. Like it was nothing particularly bad about it. I don't think any of the rides have anything particularly bad about it at Epic Universe, but it was just a very slow moving ride. It was. I thought it was going to be a dark ride, to be fair, when I was boarding, but it's actually outside for most of it as well. So it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, I think, on this list, there is going to be a few differences in what we say in terms of where we're ranking stuff. But yeah, I think we're both agreed on this one. It's just like, it's okay. I mean, if you're a family and you've got a small child or small children in your group, then you're going to be like, we need to go on Yoshi's Adventure. If you're adults like us and you go in a group of adults, unless you're wanting to do every single attraction, it's not one I'd be rushing and queuing ages for. If it's on a 5 or 10 minute queue, then do it. But it is basically a people mover. It's basically a monorail because you're basically taking in the surroundings of Nintendo World. That's basically the best way to describe it. Now, the reason I'm not showing you any on-ride footage is because there is some confusion with this, whether you can actually film on it or not. Literally everyone was filming on it, but there's big signs saying don't film. So
Yeah,
we didn't film because at the end of the day, we've got a great sort of relationship with Universal, even though we're not at the level of some vloggers who are getting invited to stuff in terms of actually talking to them, being on their mailing list and other such stuff, planning for the future. We don't want to be breaking and ruining that by taking a camera on Yoshi's Adventure.
exactly. If the restrictions say no phones, then you're best to abiding by any restrictions, because the worst case scenario, they could just say goodbye, no refund.
Yeah,
They have every right to do so. So yeah, if you can't use phones or cameras on a ride, don't use them.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally a sign as you're boarding that says no photography, no videos. And there's a very clear sign. It's got a picture of GoPro phone and a big camera. And it's like, don't do it. So imagine if you go on Yoshi's Adventure first, you take your phone on it and they go, out you go. You've broke the rules.
Yeah.
And you're like, $150.
Yeah.
And you went on Yoshi's Adventure and then you got removed. So
yeah, I personally wouldn't take the risk.
no, absolutely not. Anyway, so that's why there's not a lot of footage of that, because there's not a lot to see of it from off-ride, but also they say don't film on it, so we didn't. So my next ride, which would be in 10th place, might be a controversial one, but the next worst one for me is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. What would you say is the next worst?
I'd probably go with that, to be fair. I'd say that it was very nicely themed queue line. I enjoyed the queue probably more than the ride. The ride itself, I quite like the idea of the technology of it, but I think I built up quite a bit of anxiety waiting for the ride, because there was lots of videos demonstrating how you put these goggles on, but it wasn't very clear that the goggles are actually on the ride vehicle, because they give you a hat and you have to wear a hat. And I was like, where are these goggles? They're not on this hat. And it shows like a diagram of these goggles coming down. And I was like, but the hat doesn't look like it has it. I thought I had to do something. And then when you're bored, it's like, no, you need to get them quick. And it's all rush. And I was like, this was not very clear on how, it worked. Maybe I'm just an idiot, which could be the case as well. But
I agree. I thought it was too much faffing. Like, you go to a theme park to be immersed into a themed world or a themed experience, and you're kind of taken out of that a little bit, because the queue line, like you say, the theming was immense. It's like
next level.
Like, we had quite a lot of downtime while we were waiting for this attraction, but it was kind of like you've got all these things going on in the queue that actually it's not such a problem. But then you get to near the start and they're bombarding you with loading instructions, and it's just like, where are these goggles I've got to put on? And then, like you say, you get in the car and you're there trying to fit these goggles to this hat, and at the same time, you're pulling your lap bar down, you're putting your stuff by your feet, and then you've got the staff clapping as you're leaving the station. It's like, whoa, so much going on in such a like tiny space of time. It's like, can I please focus on the ride and not all the accessories and other bits going on? I also didn't like the headset thing.
No, I think that having it was a augmented reality, so you kind of see through. So there is some light theming on the attraction, but most of it's done through the visuals of the goggles you're wearing. I personally thought there was a like Mario Kart. I'll be honest, I'm not a big Mario Kart fan. I find there's too much going on in the game to really enjoy it myself. And the ride's very much like that. So if you like that, then you'll probably love this ride. But it's not for me, unfortunately.
No, same. I was more of a like Crash Bandicoot person when I was a child. I enjoyed playing on Crash Team Racing. It's kind of instead of Mario Kart, and I didn't really play on the Mario games that much. I was more Sonic the Hedgehog kind of person, and Crash Bandicoot, and obviously I love football, so it was like FIFA 94, 95, and it was that Crash Bandicoot and the occasional time on Tekken. And I never really dived into the Mario sort of thing. I never had a Nintendo, so I was either, I think it was an Omega, which was my dad's.
Yeah.
Then I had a Sega Mega Drive for my birthday, and 6 months later I got the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, and that was it. I've been a PlayStation fan ever since. Like everyone on launch day. So it's just like, I never really got into the Mario thing, but I really did like the theming in the queue. Yeah, like, it was incredible.
I think the theming in the queue line, like I say, I enjoyed more than the ride itself. I think that the build up to the ride was really good. I just found that the ride was a little bit lacking for my personal preference. I didn't find it particularly thrilling either. So, but you know, if you're a Mario Kart fan, you're gonna love that attraction, though.
Absolutely. So moving on, and I almost feel guilty putting a ride from Isle of Berk this sort of low in the rankings, but it's got to be Fire Drill, because even though the theming on it is amazing and the theming in Isle of Berk is incredible, it's just like the ride itself, it's not great. I mean, it's fun, it's interactive, but I feel like they could have done a better water ride, to be honest.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the targets, even though you're hitting them, they seemed like they'd gone stiff already, like they weren't spinning. And this is the thing that happens on this type of ride all around the world. It's not just an Epic Universe issue. You find that you have to hit the target, and when you hit the target, and it doesn't do anything, essentially. And I think it could be a little bit more interaction there. But I'll tell you what, it was a laugh, though.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it was a good laugh. And, you know, I think people was not really paying attention to the targets as much, but more the other boats.
Absolutely. When I realised that the other boat was in range, it was like, get them instead. That was more fun. But you get a better reaction.
Well, yes, you do. Lots of screams were had.
Yeah, they were. But it was like 32 degrees, so everyone dried off nice and quickly.
Yeah.
But next one, I think we're going to agree on this again, but I think after this one, we might stop agreeing on the order. But the next one, I've got Constellation Carousel. Again, there's actually nothing wrong with the ride. It's just that as far as this park goes, there's no way like a carousel is going to be at the top, because there is some literally epic attractions in this park. So a carousel is not going to be at the top of the list, but it's beautifully themed, beautifully designed. Music's relaxing, the ride's relaxing. Families will love it, but I'm a thrill seeker, so it doesn't go at the top for me.
To be fair, I found that when I was, I don't know if you had the same problem as what I had, but the animal that I had nothing to hold on to, so it was very I felt very unsecure on it.
Yeah,
and it does go up quite high at certain places, so I was a little bit. I would have liked somewhere to kind of hold on to while on it. But I just that was one thing that I kind of thought was a bit off-putting with it. But the ride's very, very pretty, and when you look up into the ceiling, which I would have liked to have done more, but I was more worried about falling off sideways. There's quite a lot of nice effects up there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know if I'd be rushing back to that ride. To be fair, I don't think I'd be rushing back to any of the rides that we've said so far in a hurry. Like I said, there's nothing particularly bad with them. They're just not they're not the kind of rides that we're looking for.
No,
when we
no.
go in a theme. It's not our demographic.
No,
but we wanted to experience the full thing.
Yeah, we did that. We managed that over 2 days. Of course, this is a perfect opportunity for me to say, if you haven't watched the vlogs yet, they will be linked either at the top of the screen now or at the end of this video. So moving on, I've got Dragon Racers Rally next, which is a Gerstlauer Skyfly, basically the same as Skyforce at Pleasure Beach, Blackpool. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I said many a time about the version at Blackpool that it's not really for me. I actually found that even knowing the technique of how to sort of make it move, it just didn't move. So they seemed a little bit stiffer to sort of get their wings to move. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that a part of that problem is that it's not as windy as Blackpool.
No,
so,
that too.
In Blackpool, you do get a bit of spin on it, but the ones over here, it's a lot more calm. Now, I don't think they're necessarily going for us wanting to spin it like crazy. I think they're more going for the you're trained to learn how to fly.
Yes,
which I suppose is pretty cool. I think it worked really well with the theme, but I do agree that it's essentially a thrill ride that's not thrilling.
Yeah,
but like I think it fits in with the theme perfectly. When you see it in there, it looks like it's in the right place.
Yeah, it does.
And I think it is a good attraction for the area.
One thing I will say is, like, obviously the throughput was always going to be a concern. And we joked many a time saying that when Skyforce was announced closed at Blackpool, that Universal might buy it so that they can increase the capacity. One thing I noticed was that the cycle was so short that I don't even think there will be capacity issues.
No, it did build up quite a big queue. When we left Isle of Burke, I think it was on about an hour. So it did build up over time. We did it quite early, so we were quite lucky. I definitely wouldn't wait an hour for it.
No.
You're not going to get that. If you go in with the expectations that you're going to get a ride experience like you get on Skyforce, you probably will be a little bit disappointed because unless it's a really windy day there, which I don't think you get too many of in Orlando. You get a lot of rain and a lot of lightning.
Don't they close everything anyway in the wind and rain because of the storms?
Well, yeah. So it'll probably be shut anyway by that point. But you're not going to get the same kind of experience as what you got on Skyforce. As a rule of thumb, there might be some exceptions.
Yeah. So moving on, this is where we start having slightly different rankings. So I've got Curse of the Werewolf next. Now, the reason I've put it this low down my list is because even though I actually think the coaster itself is a really cool idea, and you've obviously got the backwards and the forwards launch and the theming, you're taken out of the experience by something we mentioned so many times in the vlog. It's the netting. It just takes you out of the experience. And also having to take your bags on the ride, it just removes that I'm on a roller coaster feeling, and you kind of go into safety mode where you've got nowhere to put your camera or whatever personal items you've got on you in a backpack, a drawstring bag, whatever. You've got nowhere to put it other than at your feet. Now you're going around a roller coaster and spinning and getting launched backwards and forwards, but you're not paying any attention to that. You're paying attention to what's going on at your feet. And I could feel the camera bag moving around underneath my legs. I was like, no. So I was kind of just like, I got hold of my camera bag. I was like, oh, the ride's finished. I just didn't pay any attention to the ride because I was so focused on not losing my stuff. And that's maybe why the netting's there. But there is a solution. Put lockers somewhere.
I do agree that and I mentioned it the first thing we walked into Dark Universe, and I was like, this is a brilliant area. Why is there a tennis court over there?
Yeah.
And I think that having that big imposing netting really takes away from the attraction. And you could tell that wasn't initially the plan because they've got a much smaller ride perimeter fence around it. And then clearly they've realized that, people are taking all these loose items on with them, and they've put this stupidly tall fencing around the track as well. I do think it's a massive shame. It does take away from the experience, and I do agree with. I don't like taking anything on roller coasters. I like to leave in a bag, in a locker, or another safe location, away from the roller coaster. But stuff on roller coasters is just something I don't really like. And then when you do have to take your bags on, like on the Grand National at Blackpool, for instance, I'm terrified. I don't want to take my bag on the Grand National at Blackpool. I'd rather have somewhere to store it.
Yeah.
But The actual ride experience. So there is like an animatronic halfway through the ride where it does a little launch, and then it rolls back and does a little bit of a seesaw kind of a effect there. And in the building you go through, there is actually a werewolf that swoops down to try and get your car.
Really?
Yeah. But the issue with it being a spinning coaster is you might be not facing it or facing. In our case, we were sideways going through that. And you had to really look for it. It wasn't very noticeable.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about your bag and focusing on that and not like looking up at this, because you have to look quite far up to see it, you're going to miss it completely. So that is taken away from the experience a little bit. But I personally would rate this one higher, just one more higher than what you are. So
yeah, because you've got in this particular place, you've got Minecart Madness.
Yes, Minecart Madness is I'd place here. I was right. It's a fun coaster. I just thought that the Curse of the Werewolf was a little bit more thought through. I just feel like they've done some last minute changes that have really spoilt that experience. So hopefully they'll get the feedback and maybe remove that netting.
Yes.
And, provide lockers so people don't have to take their items on the ride, because I do think that, one, it'll speed up the operations because we won't have bag faff. And hopefully they'll look at that and change it in the future going forwards.
Yeah. So basically in 6th place, I've got Curse of the Werewolf and you've got Minecart Madness.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I have put Minecart Madness in 5th instead of 6th place is I actually enjoyed the quirkiness of it. What I will say is it is very clunky, but I liked the theming around the ride. It fit into the area perfectly well. The soundtrack from the queue line is still stuck in my head nearly like 2 weeks later. So it was very catchy. It was just like 2 beats the whole time, but it was just very, very, very catchy. And basically for a 2-hour queue, it's all you hear.
Yep.
So, and then obviously editing the 2 vlogs, it's still stuck in my head. But yeah, for me, the ride itself, I enjoyed it a little bit more of Curse of the Werewolf. Now, put me on Curse of the Werewolf without the camera bag, it might be a lot different.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
I think if you notice some of the stuff that I noticed on that ride, it'd be a bit different. So let's talk about Minecart Madness, eh? I think we've covered Curse of the Werewolf enough.
Yeah, agreed.
The Minecart Madness attraction, a Donkey Kong ride, it's a very unique ride system. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else before. So you're not going to get this experience. I don't think you're going to get anywhere in Europe. I think they've got one in Japan, haven't they? At their Nintendo World at Universal Japan. But I was amazed at like the throughputs on it more than the technical. I found that the ride more technically appealing, like to look at and watch and understand how it's working, more interesting than being on the ride itself, which probably isn't a good thing to admit to. But I was impressed that they were sending out the vehicles every. I think the quickest dispatch I saw was 13 seconds.
Oosh.
So every 13 seconds, a cart can go around. And it was literally, once that block was clear, another one was coming around. They're getting, considering only having 4 people sat on it at a time, they were hitting about 900 to 1,000 people per hour on that ride. That's pretty impressive, considering there's only four people on a car.
It's literally crazy numbers. The thing is, from my point of view as well, from an off-ride point of view, of someone that wants to film a ride, it's amazing because it's like there's just a car going around every few seconds. It's like you don't even need to think about, oh, this is going to take a few minutes and I'll move to another angle. It's like I could get the same angle like 4 times, zoomed in, zoomed out, different angle. It's like, yes, it's really good.
So that's why you like it.
Yeah. No, it was. It's a weird ride. It's very clunky.
Yes.
And I do wonder if it's the right thing for like Orlando, because we're talking about one of the busiest sort of holiday destinations in the world. And it's like, have you thought this through from a capacity point of view? Or maybe you could say the same for Curse of the Werewolf as well. But it worked quite well in the fact that the queue didn't stop moving. We were constantly moving. And like you say, the throughputs, I think 13, 16 seconds you were calculating it at.
Yeah.
It's just, it is a madness what they're doing, how quickly they get them in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it isn't the best ride, and maybe they could have done something different with higher throughputs, but we'll see. We'll see when the park's open. We'll see, because obviously we obviously went in previews, so it wasn't at full capacity in the park. The rides weren't all on full capacity either. So we obviously got a bit of a watered down experience, even though we still felt it was an epic experience. We all know that who went that it can be even better, and it'll be interesting to see how it improves. But I am certain, come the 22nd of May, you're going to see a lot of moaning about throughputs.
Yeah. I think that one thing to add to that as well is that we didn't actually have all the special effects on our run through on Donkey Kong Minecart Madness, but it was still quite immersive despite that. Like, you could see there were places where something was supposed to happen, but it didn't. So, but like, I still enjoyed the ride, and I think I would probably. I'll vote the rides in Nintendo. I think that's probably the one I'll try and ride again at some point in the future. And just to add on that, because we'll be moving away from Nintendo now, so the area is stunning. Like,
Yeah,
I think I enjoyed just being in the area probably more than
Yeah.
doing any of the attractions, because you felt like you're just in a video game, and all this stuff going on. There's so much movement around. It's very vibrant. There's you've got the characters around and about. I did see a few characters while we're in the area, and I think that's what adds to that's a theme park.
Yeah.
That's what makes a good theme park.
Yeah, because you've got theming, you've got interactions, you've got characters, and you've got rides. And obviously, you've got catering as well. You've got a bit of everything. So I feel like it was a really well thought through area, other than the actual rides that are in the area. So
yeah, I think that the rides they've gone for the more family rides for that area, which is fair enough for Nintendo World. But it would have been nice to have maybe pushed out a little bit and put something a little bit more thrilling in.
Yeah.
Maybe there's got expansion room around that area, so potentially we could see an expansion in the future.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I don't know what they would do, but that's for another conversation. So fourth best is Hiccups Wing Gliders, in my opinion. I'm assuming you're going to go with the same, because I think we've got the same top three as well.
I agree with that. I think that it was a fantastic roller coaster. They're amazing throughputs.
Yeah.
Considering like what it does, I think that they've really got it timed perfectly. That's something that I've noticed with Intamin at the moment. They're very good at building high capacity roller coasters that seem to just do a lot. Like, I thought the ride layout, when you look at it from an aerial perspective, like when Bio
Reconstruct.
Yeah, you saw a photo of like when the ride went in. I was like, well, that's short.
Yeah.
But when we were on it, the way they've programmed it and put it together, it's actually a much longer experience than what you think. Because I think we were on there like maybe a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes. It was a lot longer than what I thought it was going to be. I quite enjoyed the little fail launch you get.
Yeah.
You get like you have to escape and you don't quite make it and you roll back and then you have to go again a second time and then eventually you make it over. And I think just adding that element with the story made it such a brilliant attraction.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it, and I can see how families are going to love this attraction, because obviously you've got the onboard audio, the trains are well themed. It was a fun, quirky ride, and I enjoyed it. And it really, I've never watched How to Train Your Dragon or How to Train a Dragon, but when I got home after seeing this whole area and this coaster, I was like, I need to watch these films with my son. That is a proper IP themed area in a theme park. That's how it should be. You should come away from there feeling like you've been in a film, you've been part of a story, you've been immersed into it, and you want to sort of see more of that when you get home. And it's a good thing as well, because it makes you remember the park.
Yes.
It makes you think about going again. But Hiccups Wing Gliders is a big part of that. It's a really fun coaster. I can see that families are going to really love it. Like I say, staff were great. Ride was fun. It fits into the area perfectly. And it is the perfect coaster for that area of the park, 100%.
No, I completely agree. I think that the area that it's set in is stunning. Like,
Yes.
it is absolutely stunning. I took a photo of it, and I look back now, I was like, this doesn't look like a real photo.
No.
Because it's just like so incredibly well done. I'd say that is probably the most impressive area for me of the park, because the attention to detail was just spot on with animatronic dragons all through the area, and like you say, the staff and the characters were really all walking around that area as well, which was I'd say they probably made it like even more of a immersive experience.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the characters and the actors, I think that area probably wouldn't be as highly ranked as what I have ranked it, because they really were approachable, and
Yeah.
you know, I just thought it was amazing. You really felt like you were in the movie.
Yeah, you did. It was. I'm not sure if we'll do a video covering all the lands, but it is something that I'm thinking we should probably do. I could talk about that area for a long time. I just felt completely immersed into it from the minute that we walked through the portal, walked into the main hub of it, and then you've just got the water, the rides, the theming, the music. It's like, wow, I have
Yeah.
just been completely taken away from everyday life and just dropped into a film. It was just incredible.
Yeah, when you see the roller coasters swooping down into the
Yeah.
water, it's just amazing. I thought that it would look pretty ugly the way they designed it going into the trench, but it's absolutely stunning. They've nailed it. They have
Yeah.
nailed that area completely.
Honestly, it was an area that I was like, probably the same as Nintendo's. I was just kind of like, whatever. Just get me on the coasters and like Monsters Unchained. But yeah, it's brilliant.
I can't wait to go back and just fully see everything they have to offer in there.
Yeah.
Because we only had a quick glimpse, if you will. We went
Yeah.
through all the rides and attractions, but there's so much more that area has to offer. You can go exploring a little bit and see what there is. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and just see. You know, I know there's a few other characters we didn't see.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you see different things every time you go.
And that's the beauty of going back to a theme park. Obviously, we did 2 days during previews, so we've not like I think we've already said in this video, we've not had the full experience yet. The next time I go, I'll probably not film it because I'll probably just go in and take ages in every area and just fully sort of go, right, what's changed and how can I immerse myself into this again, even though I've been here before. And that's something I'm looking forward to doing. But we must move on.
Yep.
And third on the list for me is Stardust Racers. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot since we went. Obviously, we got both credits. The first time we did it, we did the yellow track, and it wasn't dueling. That was at night time. I didn't think it was the best coaster ever, but I could certainly see the merits of it. Then the following day, we did the green track, or the greenish track, and it was dueling. And I thought, great, this is going to be one of the best roller coasters I've ever done. I've got to be honest, I just don't know how to rank it. Because I think in Epic Universe, it's one of the strongest attractions. If you put it in another park, I'm not so sure it would be.
I don't know. I do think it's a fantastic roller coaster. I would put it definitely. It's definitely third place.
Yeah.
I think the two dark rides that they have are beyond roller coaster technology. So, but like, yeah, I think that I personally, when I rode it, I was like, that's the best ride I've ever done, roller coaster I've ever done. And then I went and rode Velocicoaster a few days later, and I was like, actually, Velocicoaster is the best ride I've ever done. So maybe I'm just at that point now where that I just really enjoy the roller coasters as they are. I do think that Stardust is going to give you a fantastic roller coaster experience. I think one thing that I maybe was expecting more was being able to watch it more off ride.
Yeah.
Where you only really see a couple of very unique places where it interacts. Whereas around the back of the ride, there's a lot of near misses that you can't actually see from the queue line. I don't know if all the queue line, we didn't go all the way down in the queue, but as far as we could see, the queue offered a limited view of the attraction. And it's just a shame you can't really walk down there and see it. Like, maybe that's something they could maybe look into in the future, is opening a bit of a garden down there you can walk down. I always like a theme park that has a bit of escapism where you can escape the crowd. And I think that'd be a great opportunity to build a pathway down by that far end of the roller coaster and maybe just add a bit of a garden and somewhere to go and view it and see it as well. It'd be fantastic. Fantastic roller coaster though. And I did enjoy it even more when it dueled. We didn't do dueling at night. And I think that would be the next step, is to try that, because I think that will offer an even more unique experience.
Yeah. I don't know how to fully rank it. I mean, I feel like there's going to be a video on the channel. We might even make it like after this one, but I don't know fully how to rank it as a roller coaster and a full experience. I feel like it's seriously lacking. I think the theming is so bland for it. It's Celestial Park is like gorgeous. Like when you walk into it for the first time, you're, again, to use the word immersed. You are fully immersed into the theme park immediately as you walk into Epic Universe. But it just feels like it's a little bit weak. Stardust Racers on the theming side, the queue's very bland, the station's very bland, and when you're going around the ride, like, I don't like moaning about sightlines because it's something that I constantly see on Twitter or X as it's called now. It does my head in when people are like, "Oh, you can see this from this area." It's like you can see Rip Ride Rocket from Hagrid's if you look hard enough. Who cares? But when you're on Stardust Racers, all you can see is just dirt behind it. It's like you're taken away from Epic Universe and you're put into an area where it's like, oh, I'm in Six Flags. I'm in an amusement park. There's no theming. Where's the theming? It's like when you're on Velocicoaster, you're in the paddock. You're fully immersed into the Jurassic Park experience. Obviously, when you launch out of it and you're more inside Islands of Adventure, but you're still in the Jurassic Park area. You've got like the Jurassic Park Welcome Center or whatever it is to left of you or to the right of you, depending on where you are in the ride. You're going over the water and you're fully immersed into it. Whereas Stardust Races, it's kind of like you launch and it's like, I'm away from Epic Universe. And that is something that I feel, for Universal, I don't feel like it's their best work.
No, I feel like the budget was very much spent on the roller coaster hardware, not so much the theming and the station. I feel like they're trying to go for the steampunk vibe, which is what I was getting, but they never really quite successfully pulled it off. Like I think with Constellation Carousel, they did actually manage to get that vibe on there. Although it is very minimalistic vibe as well. I just think that, like, I do agree with the station area. It does look very bland.
It's just boring. Like even when you're in there, it's just like dull. Again, I'm sorry to compare it, but when you're in the Velocicoaster queue, you are thrown into a Jurassic Park experience or Jurassic World experience. You're fully immersed into the story. Even in the station, you feel like you're in the proper control center from the films. You feel like you're in the film. You feel like you're part of a story.
Yeah.
But on Stardust Racers, it just feels like a roller coaster that could be at any amusement park in the world.
To be fair, if you were to give people a bit of an idea of how the vibe that you're kind of getting off it, I'd say it reminded me a lot of Space Mountain at Disneyland Paris. But minus the theming.
Yes, I agree.
Like if you did that with just like the main support beams of the building, that you would have like Stardust essentially. Literally. And it's a shame because I don't think it would take that much to get it up there to that kind of level. Because Space Mountain in Paris is one of my favorite roller coasters until it got the Star Wars overlay anyway. Yeah. But I think if you go back a few years before that, it just kind of reminded me of that, but on a budget.
Yeah.
So, but it's still a lovely part of the park. Like it's just the weakest area when you've got all these other areas that are so well done. It stands out a little bit as being an unloved area, should I say? Well, not unloved, but it didn't get the same kind of enthusiasm put into it as the other areas.
I've seen it described as putting the park into theme park, and I would agree with that. It does feel like you're walking through like a really lovely park somewhere, but that doesn't really carry on to Stardust Racers. And whilst I get the vibe of, obviously, it's the shooting stars in the sky and stuff like that, yes, it looks amazing at night, but as a roller coaster, it's not the best. But somehow, it's in the top 3 at Epic Universe.
It is a fantastic roller coaster at the end of the day, and especially with that dueling element, I think that it is thrilling. It does offer airtime. It does offer them near miss elements, which when you're on the ride, I was sat a bit further back in the train from you, and I thought I could touch the other train. I thought I was going to be able to shake hands with the train on above my head. So, and that's fantastic because I think that is what it's about. Yeah. It is about that dueling element, and it has a flux capacitor.
Yeah.
What more could you want?
The dock. So number 2 for me, and it might be the same for you. You might change your mind. You never know. Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. That's number 2 for me. Now this was a tough decision because this and obviously what's number 1, very, very, very difficult to separate. But for me, I feel like because Harry Potter, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. Well, I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all. I always say this, I've never watched the films. I've not really got any enthusiasm to do so. It's just not my thing. But I can appreciate that the ride is absolutely stunning. The techniques that they've used to make you feel like you're moving everywhere and being catapulted at high speeds and then dropped and lifted up. And the way they've done it with the gondola that you're in and the things that are around you and the screens, it is a masterpiece what they've done. For me, it just falls short of being number one. And maybe that will change when I can ride it without having to battle for a virtual queue to go on it. That's for another story. But I think it's a great attraction. And so many people, whether they're Potter fans or not, are going to love it.
Yeah, so I'm going to walk you through like my take on it. So you walk into the area and you're in Paris. It's absolutely stunning. You believe when you're in the area, you are now in Paris, and they have the Roman actors around that kind of enhance to that as well. And then you go in to the metro flu, I think they called it, where it's a very, very cool effect where you get a lot of cool mist that comes up.
Yes.
And then you're now in the British Ministry of Magic. I hope I'm following this right, because I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all. So I was trying to follow the story as best as possible. And from what I can tell, someone was getting... They're in trouble. They're at court, essentially.
Basically, they're on trial.
And you can see, like, there's a giant, like, newspaper with the...
Yeah.
Or you could see the picture on the wall. And it was a very impressive area to look at. I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Either way. And then from that point, you kind of join the queue line, which it did feel a bit like you're kind of on the underground. I mean, you know, the older stations have the tiles. I felt like we were on the London Underground a little bit, walking to the ride vehicle. And then the actual ride vehicle, I thought was really impressive, because when you're in the air gates or when you're waiting to board, you can't see the floor of where this thing's coming from, and you can't really see the ceiling. I'm thinking, is this thing just going to float here? Yeah, I was very confused by it. I'm guessing if you did get closer, you'd probably be able to see something. It must be some mechanics there working. And then obviously your lift then arrives, and you board the lift with some very strange restrictions.
Yes, do not cross your feet.
Do not cross your legs at all.
If you cross your
Don't
feet,
do it.
The ride will stop.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure why you can't cross your feet. I didn't try. I follow what they say.
You can't be doing that.
They made it very clear. You must not, under any circumstances, cross your legs.
Can I do it now? There we go. Oh, camera's broke.
So, but yeah, that was just. I think that's probably the most bizarre ride restriction I've ever heard. But okay, if that's what they want, then fair enough. I'm guessing it's for what follows, because it is quite an interesting experience. You've got a lot of you kind of moving, violently to the left, to the right, forwards, backwards. I think the strangest bit was where, I don't know how they do it, but you're kind of like leaning forwards at quite a steep angle, and then it moves forwards but sideways at the same time, and I'm like, how do you? Don't know. Don't know. It's magic, clearly.
I have an idea. If anyone from Universal ever watches this video, sell a behind the scenes tour.
Yeah, please do. I'd buy it.
Take the money. Literally, it's one of them that you got to do.
I think that I'd love to see behind the scenes of the two dark rides they've got there. They are very, very, very impressive machines. Like, it blew my mind. I don't know. I don't understand it, but I enjoyed it.
Does that take us on to number one then?
I think it does very neatly.
Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment. One of the best rides in the world. Like, not even a doubt about it. Not just in Epic Universe, just anywhere in the world. It is one of the best rides ever. 100%.
I think it is the best ride out there that I've ever done. And I'm not a horror guy.
No.
I was a little bit nervous for the first time I went through because I didn't really know what to expect. But I think that it is quite darkly themed, but there wasn't really anything particularly scary I don't know if that there's I didn't have any jump scares. Is probably the best way to put it. Like you know, a lot of the rides and you know the ghost trains and stuff we see over in this country, they do tend to blast a bit of air down your ear and that kind of thing. But there didn't seem to be any of that going on when not in the seat I sat in on the experience. I have since watched some other videos of this attraction because I enjoyed it that much. And judging by what people are saying, we actually had the full experience compared to what others have had. So a lot of other people are, and even on videos I've seen, there's stuff not working. Whereas like for us, we had everything.
Yeah.
So I think we were very lucky with our run through by the looks of it. So which is good because we probably saw it at its best in that case. The queue line's fantastic. Like,
it is.
I enjoyed queuing for a ride, which is not often something you say. But
no.
I kind of wanted to stay in certain places a bit longer than others, and you wanted to look at this, but because it moves.
Yeah.
So you don't stay anywhere that long to really admire any of the queue line for that kind of length of time.
It's funny because like sometimes you're looking at it going, oh, I won't mind standing here for a few minutes, and before you've even thought about that, you're long gone. You're past it. Yeah. So we did it 5 times. Out of 4 of those, we had a perfect go through. I think the last go we had was a little bit iffy.
There's a few couple of things not working.
But I think even so, I think we had Monsters Unchained at its best. But I still think it can be better because there is a point, and I spoke to Sean Sandbrook about this the other day, and we called it the curtain.
The curtain is interesting,
curtain where it literally throws you forward. And there's just nothing there in front of you, and you're like, there should be something there.
Do you think there is meant to be something there, but it's not finished?
Yes.
Because, like, it is unusual because you literally kind of get thrown backwards and then thrown forwards.
Yeah.
Straight into, like, this curtain that's just there. And it's like, I think there's meant to be something there that you come face to face with.
Yeah, I agree. Going off my experiences of Halloween Horror Nights, they only ever let you see something they want you to see.
Yeah.
And in that attraction, it's the same. The ride vehicle or gondola only takes you in a direction that they want you to see. They don't want you being Mr. Technical looking around. How does this work? They want you to focus on what they're showing you.
Exactly.
So I don't think that they want you to be thrown into a giant curtain.
No.
I feel like there should be something there, and there will be something there eventually.
I hope so, because I think that was the only weak point that I noticed with the attraction. Everything else I thought was just done perfectly. I think that the first run through, I didn't really know what to expect, and I was looking around a lot more because I was nervous and whatnot. So I didn't really get the full story the first run through, but the second time I got it, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that the key thing, if you do ride that, is just look where the ride vehicle's kind of pointing you.
Yeah.
Because you can look out and look side to side, and you can see the other vehicles. And you know what? It's quite cool seeing the other vehicles doing what they do, but keep, just focus on what the ride vehicle wants you to see. I think I knew it was going to be good from as soon as we left the station area. You see Igor there, and he's got his joystick that he uses to control the vehicle, and the vehicle responds to his movement.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that was just that instantly brings you into that world.
Yeah,
because you're like, oh, he's doing this. Yeah, it's really believable, and you kind of sucked into that environment for a few minutes. So I thought that all the pre-shows, the queue line, the animatronics and the ride system itself, all top notch. I hope we get something like that at Universal UK, because that technology they put into that was next level.
So I think we can leave it there, Steve. I think that is pretty much our guide to the attractions at Universal Epic Universe. Now, of course, with every visit, this could well change.
It could.
But for now, that is our worst to best ranking of the attractions at Epic Universe. Obviously, there is only one attraction that we have a slightly different ranking on, but that was pretty much our opinions at the time, or now after we've been. If you would like to see our initial reactions and just how much fun we had at Epic Universe, please do check out the vlogs. They will be linked in the top of the screen and at the end of this video. So that's all for now. I've been Scott. This is Steve. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do hit that like button. There's a little thumbs up below. Please comment, please subscribe. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.